Hey everybody, it's Ava Brooks, the youngest AIWF Women's World Champion, and you're listening to Drinking at Moe's.
This is Drinkin at Demos, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Moe's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Moe's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, oh it's a scream.
You know, I've always said here at Drinkinatmos, just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean it has to be alcoholic. So I'm happy to say Drinking at Moe's is sponsored by Prince Nana Coffee. The exact same guy you see every week on Dynamite, on Collision. Yes, he has his own coffee and it's freaking delicious. They don't even roast those beans until you've placed your order. And you might be telling me, hey, Big Mo, I'm more of a tea guy. They got you covered there too. Use the referral link in the description of this video. And let's get you dancing like Prince Nana with Prince Nana Coffee. All right, everybody. Welcome Drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Because YouTube's algorithm is a pain in my ass. We are most places to find audio podcast too. Today, I'm excited to have with me the youngest AIWF Women's Champion, Ava Brooks. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Can't complain. I know I had to watch night one of Mania the morning after. But then, hey, I was all prepared for night two because in-laws were in town, so that kind of, family first and all that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, lots of great stuff coming up. And, we'll go into some of... I am a little familiar with AIWF because, well, two of my friends are former tag champs, and one who has since passed, friend of mine, former cruiserweight champ. So very familiar with the God. But we'll get there. We go. I don't get it with people call. Nobody calls me, and all of a sudden I'm recording and people want to call me. But so first thing I'd like to start off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make the leap into the business?
So from the time I started being a fan to the time I got into the business, there wasn't a whole lot of time in between.
Yeah.
It was on in my house growing up, but I was never the kid to sit down and watch it with everybody. Me and my sister had a couple action figures because we went through the whole like, oh, this is so cool phase. People in school would talk about it, so we knew what it was. But I didn't really get into it until like 2019. We started going to Imagine Wrestling in Altoona, and then we started going to IWC, which is in Elizabeth, PA. And I remember I was at a show and I saw Katie Arquette wrestle, and I knew who she was, but it was the first time I really got to see her in action. And I was just like tunnel vision on her the entire time, the way she moved, the way she interacted with the fans, the way she told the story in the ring. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So at that point, I was a couple months away from turning 16. So I was still 15, and nobody would really look at me. Everybody was kind of just standoffish because of how young I was, and I was a girl. And a bunch of the schools around me are very male-based. So they're like, oh, like, we don't want to hurt her. So I had to wait till I was 16, and my parents still had to sign a waiver to allow me to start training. I was a junior in high school when I started training. It was a couple months after I turned 16. It was like November 13th. And I was with that training school for over a year. 3 months before I debuted, I ended up getting hurt at a training, and I ended up parting ways with that school for a couple of reasons. But they did everything that they could for me. They gave me my basic psychology, everything like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like time wasted or anything. It was just time to move on.
Yeah.
So I healed from my injury. I was still going to shows, still setting up the ring, paying my dues, as they say. And I would just get into the ring with anybody that would get in with me and was willing to teach me anything. So that's when I really like established my move set to start wrestling. And then it was March of last year whenever I got told that I was facing Katie Arquette for my debut match on my 18th birthday. And
Hey.
I just like it was a full circle moment for me. It was crazy. Had the match with her, and I've been going ever since.
That is awesome. Yeah, nice little way to get your official debut in there, uh, going up against somebody that you started watching when you were going to independent shows. That is pretty awesome. I love hearing little stuff like that. Now, was also curious when watching some of matches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would often hear you referred to as the unstoppable spark. How did that come about? Because I mean, watching you,
Mm-hmm.
it's evident why, to me, why you could be referred to as that, because you definitely you have that tenacity in there that, you know it's refreshing seeing somebody, especially as young, young both in life and in the business, having that,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes it takes some people a little while to kind of develop that.
Yeah. So this kind of surprised a lot of people. Ava Brooks was not what I was going to go with at all whenever I started wrestling. I was going to have this whole other gimmick. I was going to call her Astrid. She was going to be a Viking goddess. And she was like, the goddess part was going to be when she walked around the ring. Just very elegant, very like she owns the room. And then the Viking was when she started wrestling because the bell would be her trigger, and then she would just go, 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 go. So
Gotcha.
I still wanted to incorporate that into Ava Brooks because Ava Brooks came from, I was a backstage correspondent at the company I debuted for. The fans, they knew who I was. And it was just like, it was a, like usually when people start wrestling, you're not going to win all of your matches. So to
Yeah.
put Astrid, which was a very intricate and very in-depth character, brand new, we didn't want her to be not buried, but we didn't want the character
Yeah.
itself to be buried and just looked
Yeah.
over.
No,
Um,
I can understand.
so we wanted to do a simpler gimmick. That way, win, loss, it didn't really matter. But the Ava Brooks persona has blown up so much in the past 10 months that I like that's just what I've stuck with, and I've gotten very comfortable with the base of Ava Brooks, and I'm starting to evolve her and like how she works in the ring, the different moves, whatever. But so whenever I was figuring out a moniker for her, because I didn't just like the whole Ava Brooks, because it
Mm.
just seemed boring to me. It just sounded like a name.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I put character into her? Which is how the Unstoppable Spark. So it's my version of keeping Astrid in Ava Brooks, but it's just
Mm.
a different name. So Unstoppable Spark, as soon as the bell rings, like I'm nice to all the fans, whatever, unless I'm a heel, obviously, then I don't really like you. But um I have I'm very athletic, I'm very quick in the ring. At least I try to be with certain things, different combinations I hit. So those little combinations are the spark you see, and the fight that I constantly bring is the unstoppable part. So
Oh,
That's how
I
I would
definitely.
describe that.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely get it. Definitely have a good mind in there because yeah, a character as powerful as the one you're telling me about, the Viking character. Yeah, if you just bring that in and like what often happens with not always winning all of your matches right away, you know, kind of doesn't get that character off to a good start. But you're keeping it alive there. I like that. Now, one thing that I was noticing in at least one of the matches I saw that where you had your hair down, but then you put it up in the middle of the match, and it was like, oh, and the way I was thinking of it was kind of similar. Would be in the way like Kurt Angle when he'd part like towards the end of the match would just like with the straps and like we're good,
I've
or
had
like
so many people tell me
the
that.
the Big Show where he like takes the one down and like something's about to go down.
Yes. So that whole um spot was not planned at all. And the way the commentary talked about it, it sounded like it was planned. That was the longest match I ever had. It was 18 minutes long. And we were going. The place that we were in was packed. It was humid that day because it was raining outside and the humidity would not break. So it was super hot. And I was like, I'm going to die if I do not put my hair up. And everyone was like, Ava, like it was the double down, your hands were moving super quick. And I'm like, guys, if I didn't put my hair up, I was going to pass out. It was so warm. And I'm like, and I know that I still have half of this match to do. So I just did what I had to. And it just so happened that I was able to put it up quick enough that we could get up and continue. But yeah, a lot of people commentary did really well on making people think that that was supposed to happen, and it was not. I was like, if I don't put my hair up, I feel like I'm going to get sick. I had a water by the ring for that reason in case something would happen, and I forgot it was there until after the match. And I was like, okay. But to be honest, I probably should have. I mean, a lot of people liked what I did, but I probably if I was using my brain, I should have put my hair up before I got out there with how hot the arena was. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite the experience, and I definitely felt a lot cooler after I got my hair off my neck.
Well, I mean, I can't say that I relate, but I mean, but I can understand, going in there like you guys do now. Okay, sometimes my handwriting on my notes is complete crap, but one other one from that moment from that match that I won. I don't know. You probably watched it back, but there was a sign in the crowd that definitely got me laughing. Mm-hmm. Ava has bigger balls than AJ.
Yeah, that was the first sign that I've actually seen in my matches. I don't know why, even though I interact with the crowd so much, especially when I'm in there and when I go around, like I look at everybody, but I miss the signs all the time. And then when I think back to the match, I can't remember any of the fans. I know that I was talking to them, but it's almost like I'm in the ring and everything else is like blocked out around me, but like I can hear them. And like, so I know that they're there, but I'm so focused on my match. And it's weird that I interact with them, but I can't remember them. I don't know why my brain does that. But yeah, but that was the first sign that I saw because I so happened to turn while they were introducing AJ. And I was like, okay, I love that.
Oh, yeah, that was funny. I got a huge kick out of that. And, I can understand how, when you're in go mode for the matches, you might, interact with the crowd, high five here and there. But to like remember a specific interaction might be a little like everything was just happening so fast. I can get that. Now, going into things with the AIWF and the and the women's championship that you recently won. For those that might not be as familiar with AIWF as like yourself or me, and I mean, by all means, correct me if I'm wrong, that the AIWF is kind of like how going back to like old school NWA, where there was like a group of promotions that work together, and the titles, the AIWF titles, and then I guess NWA is kind of going back to that, but that's been AIWF since they started, keeping that kind of thing alive, and having their champions kind of definitely be traveling champions.
Yeah, so I think right now we have 150 promotions over 50 countries, the newest country being somewhere in Ireland. So I was not familiar with AIWF at all before I came down, because I was brought in through a guy that I worked with for another company that so happened to start working with him. And he was like, hey, we're trying to get this women's division going. Do you have anybody? And he recommended me because I went up, I worked with them, and the company was Nickel City Wrestling, which I'm actually going to be there this Sunday in a tag match. But I went up a handful of times. The first time I went up, I was supposed to be in a one-on-one match, but we had an extra girl coming, Zoe Sky, so she got thrown into that match. It was an amazing experience, and it helped my nerves a little bit because it was one of the very first companies that I went to outside of like the 40-mile radius that people talk about. So I was like, I know nobody here, but I knew Zoe from Pit Fight the year before, or that year actually, right before I debuted. And we actually got a picture together, and I should have gotten a picture with her whenever I faced her, but I was like, maybe one day we'll meet each other in the ring. And then a couple months after my debut, we did that, and it was so much fun. And then the next time that I went up, I was supposed to face a girl that I was familiar with, but she wasn't able to make it. So then it was supposed to be Zandra Lee, Masha Slamovich, JC Storm, and Hollywood Haley J in a steel cage tag match. I can't remember who was with who. I think Masha and Zandra were together, and then the other two. But I'm not 100% sure. But Haley couldn't make it for some reason. JC's plane got messed up, and they're like, Ava, have you ever been in a steel cage match before? And I went, nope. And they were like, well, you're going to be today. So it turned into a triple threat with me, Masha, and Zandra, and that was super fun. And I've never, like, if a promoter comes up to me and they're like, hey, change of plans, we're going to do this, the card always says card subject to change. Always. So whenever I book myself for these shows, I'm booking myself for the show, not a particular match, because that might not happen. So I'm never going to tell somebody no, unless you're asking me to do some crazy shit like go through glass, and then I'm going to be like, nah, keep your money, I'm going to go home. I'm not doing that.
Lord knows Masha's done enough of that for a match.
I ain't doing all that. Not right now. I'm not doing all that. But so I feel like part of the trust that Nickel City has in me is I've never let them down. I've always rise to the occasion no matter what it was. And so they mentioned my name to Matt Classic, and then Matt Classic brought me down, and I got to wrestle Claire Carter, which I had watched whenever I was training, and her husband used to work for the promotion that I trained at. So
I've had both of, not to interrupt you, I've had both of those two on.
Yeah, and I love them both. They're so sweet. They're so nice. Claire definitely helped calm my nerves because I was super nervous for that match because I'm, again, in a new state. And then, yeah, we've been lining up defenses, everything like that. And even if I don't have the belt, if the year goes well, last time I checked, I'll have 10 different states that I'll have debuted in before the end of the year. So a little bit over a year, and I'll have 10 states under. So I'm really trying to get out there. Doing the podcast has definitely helped because I've gained so much eyes from that. And yeah, it's been a crazy last 2 months.
I can imagine, and it, getting a title like the AAWF Women's title, it's definitely a nod from the people that run the place, because it's like, like you said, you're not letting them down. You're always rising to the occasion, and you're proving to them that they can rely on you.
Mm-hmm.
So that is awesome, and you know it's it's kind of cool. Not very many people can say that they're the youngest one ever.
Yeah.
You're in the history books there. You're youngest one ever. That's pretty cool for somebody as young in the business and young in life that you're already accomplishing some pretty big stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. Because not only was I the youngest to win it, I was the youngest to ever challenge for it.
Mm-hmm.
So with with that, it was like another example of stepping up to the occasion for me and like knowing that I belong here. And then I've been champ for almost 2 months, and we brought in so much attention to the belt. Even when I faced AJ, it just proved that I can step up. Like, no
Yeah.
matter who you put in front of me, I can work with them. Like, I can
Oh yeah.
do the thing. So it's definitely crazy. And even like accomplishments outside of my matches from podcasts. Um, I was on, there's a podcast called Wild Side Wrestling Podcast, and um, I went on his podcast a couple months into my career, so I was like brand new,
Yeah.
and we actually ended up working this whole thing out, and I'm being hosted to go down to WrestleCade. So if I have the belt with me and if I don't lose it by then, I'll get to go take pictures, meet new fans, hopefully bring
Hey.
more attention to the companies that I'm at now, and be around a ton of other wrestlers that I can make connections with and just talk to and get more information from. So I'm getting these opportunities to better myself as well, and it's just been crazy.
That is awesome. Getting WrestleCade weekend is a huge thing, and you're getting out there, hopefully with the AIWF Women's Championship. That's gonna be pretty epic thing, and all the names that come in for that, and getting to rub shoulders with them.
Hmm.
Definitely gonna bring a lot of new eyes.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited. We'll be out there all 3 days. We'll have exclusive merch and stuff for that weekend. So we should have more information coming soon about it. So everybody, pay attention to my socials.
Definitely don't want to miss out. And like you said, you mentioned 10 new states. Definitely being a bit of a traveling champion. Is there, maybe this might be a cliche question, but is there anywhere in particular, like a particular state or town, that you're like, I want to wrestle there?
um, I would love to wrestle in Florida. That is always on my bucket list. I love Florida. Um, I really want to wrestle at NCG in Canada, but I'm working on getting my passport right now, so that's not really possible at the moment. And I'm where else? Another state that I wanted to wrestle was California because I've never been on that side of the country, but I'll be out there September 19th for a little like was I don't think it's little, but it's a Mexican like I don't wanna mess it up. I have the flyer on my phone. I know for sure.
Okay. Okay. No, and I get it. I feel the same way sometimes when I'm trying to pronounce something that I'm like, I just look at it, I'm like, I am so gonna mess this up.
It's their Hispanic Heritage Month celebration in Santa Rosa, California. Um, and there's going to be lucha libre and stuff like that, which I'm excited for because it's a different style than up here. You don't see a lot of it up here.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to learn some new things, get to meet some luchadors, talk to different people. Definitely should probably work on my Spanish. Um,
Yeah, heck,
but
I'll admit, I was stationed down there, and the only thing in Spanish that I have had stick with me was from a Will Ferrell movie that was all in Spanish, and it's just the "yo no sé." It was like I don't know. That's literally the only thing I know is I don't know.
uh, but yeah, definitely a lot of big things coming up. But yeah, booked and busy, booked and busy.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. I know plenty of people down there. I will definitely be telling them to keep their eyes on you, so maybe get even more opportunities out there in California. Southern California, I kind of I joked about it before, but I mean I'm serious. It was with my enlistment down there and everything. It was like a second home. So anytime I get to help anybody out down there or going there, I'm all about it. Now, the thing with being a traveling champion is sometimes the trips are quite long.
Yes.
Now, I got a question a little here in a minute or two that I will ask kind of going into that. But before we go into those categories, I got something I'm trying to get going here.
Okay.
A message you have for the fans.
Hmm. Keep showing up and supporting indie wrestling. So I feel like it's at the highest point it's ever been currently. Um, and as long as you keep showing up for us, we'll keep showing up for you. Obviously, that's how it works. Without you, we don't have a job, which
Hmm?
I appreciate all of my fans, but you also have to remember to be respectful. Um,
Yeah.
just because we don't work with WWE or AEW and we usually travel by ourselves, if you recognize us, most of us will gladly take a picture with you and talk to you if we're not in a rush to go somewhere. But
Yeah.
don't blow up our Facebook messengers, don't blow up our DMs if we don't see it because most of the time that's how we communicate with the bookers. So
Yeah.
we that's what we do. Um if I don't message you on one thing, don't take it personally, but do not blow up on every platform I have. Don't start blowing up my email because I don't answer fans' emails. That's strictly for my bookings. Um and if I don't like personally know you, um, never met you before in my life, never even talked to you, and you find me through social media, which has been happening a lot lately because I had
Mm.
a clip that I put up for Rise Wrestling with a storyline we're doing, and I wanted to further that, and it blew up, and I got like 7,000 followers from that video. Do not randomly call me because I am such an awkward person and I will when you're calling me, I'm looking at my phone like this. I literally start to like internally panic. I am so socially awkward and I don't mean to be mean, but it just gives me a lot of anxiety.
No, I can get you there. I know uh, I've not had too many bad interactions with people out in town. But I do remember I was with my family. My wife and I were with my family, and we went down to Disney World, and I knew some WWE wrestlers lived in the Orlando area, but
Yeah.
didn't didn't think like Orlando's a big town. What are the
Yeah.
odds that you're gonna actually run into? Well, on the way out, I had to bend down to like tie my shoe or something. But as I'm getting back up, I look up and there's this T-Rex skull on his shoulder. I look up, and it was Kevin Owens. And I was like, I looking around, I'm like, oh crap, he's with his family.
Mm-hmm.
I just said to myself, I know I saw him.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was him. I'm not gonna mess up family time because especially when you're in the park, if one person comes up, then it's like, oh, somebody's gonna notice, and then all of a sudden you got a damn mom. But I will admit, I ran up to my wife and I fanboyed out a little bit, like, oh my god, I will not believe what I just saw. Yep, she laughed at me for that one. Yeah. So what? All right. Now I got two categories here. First one's a bit of a name game where I name off some people. You give me some quick thoughts on them. And I try to theme it towards the guests as much as possible. And each of these people has, when they got their start in the wrestling business, they were relatively young. Some as young as 13, 14. Mm-hmm. So I figured it kind of fit with you here. So, first one, somebody that I've actually had the pleasure of having on the podcast before, Billy Starks.
I love Billy. I got to meet her officially for the first time at Toy Hio not that long ago, and she gave me a lot of like good information. Talked with me for a good bit. We obviously didn't want to hold up the line because there was a very big line, but super nice, super sweet, and she was like, if you ever have questions about anything, just message me on Instagram. It might take me a while to get it, but yeah, plus I have friends that trained with her, so if I need something, they'll even go ask her for me, and yeah, but I love Billy.
Oh yeah, no, she was an absolute pleasure to have on, and I actually got to later end up meeting her in person at Sammy Callahan's promotion Revolver. Mm-hmm. Got to meet her there and get to actually see her in a match in person, which, man, much like I said with you, with all that you're accomplishing already with the AIWF Women's Championship, all the stuff that she is accomplishing right now, being like the youngest and first ever Ring of Honor Women's Television Champion. It's like the stuff that you both are already accomplishing. Just imagine where you could be when you start thinking about retiring.
Yeah.
Just imagine what more. Next one, Roxanne Perez.
I love Roxanne too. She was one of the main ones that I watched whenever I started training because we're similar sizes. She's not that old either. And we both have the athletic background. So it was kind of like a no-brainer for me to watch her. And I still watch her now. I hope that I get to meet her someday, if not even wrestle her someday. But yeah, she's definitely somebody that I look up to.
Oh yeah, she is definitely a great example for what you can accomplish if you really busting your butt out there.
Yeah,
for sure. And heck, even the way that she did the heel turn, where now she's playing the the bad girl, and you know, when she had always been like the perennial baby face, and you know, now it's like she's totally owning it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, next up, you know, I guess I don't know why I forgot that this one got her start as young as it was, but Soraya, aka Paige.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't really watch her a whole lot when she was in WWE the first time, because at that point I wasn't really watching, but I watched her more when she came back to AEW. Um, and I feel like we move similar in the ring for sure. The most common thing we probably have is the starting out younger. Um, but I'm sure that I would find more if I went back and looked at her earlier matches before she got injured. Um, but yeah, that's somebody that I definitely need to look into more. But she seems like such a sweet person.
Oh, yeah.
And she seems to be very honest too. So I think I would like to be able to sit down and just pick her brain on certain things to see what she thinks.
Oh yeah, no, she definitely comes across as one that, you know, definitely a nice person, but definitely one that won't sugarcoat something. So,
Yeah.
like, if you need to hear it, she's gonna tell you.
And that's exactly how I am.
That is awesome. That is how I try to be. It's gotten me in some hot water sometimes, but hey, the way I always say it is, if they didn't want to know the truth, they didn't have to ask me.
Hmm.
All right, now this one, I, you know, I guess for some people, I guess with the amount of wrestling I watch, I just spaced off on how young some people got their starts. And this guy might be closer to the end of his career than he is when he got his start very young.
Hmm.
Living legend Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio was actually the first action figure I ever had.
Yeah,
Um, it was his. It was. I know his pants were red. I don't think his mask was all red, but it might have been like red and green. I can't really remember. But that was the first action figure that me and my sister had. And yeah, I was just talking to who was I talking? I think it was my mom or my brother yesterday, and I was like, it's so strange to me because I'm only 18 years old, but all of the wrestlers that I remember watching, Rey Mysterio, um, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, John Cena, all like that group of guys are all Seth, they're all getting so much older, and like Cena's about to end his career. Um, Randy Orton, I still has a good bit left, but like we know that he's gonna get to the point.
yeah,
Don't really see Sheamus anymore. Um, Rey Mysterio is probably on his way out soon. And it's just like crazy to see that all of the guys that I grew up knowing that I watched,
yeah,
I was like, oh, my childhood. And my brother was like, he said something. And I was like, he's only 5 years younger than me, too, which is so crazy that there's like so much of a difference between like my childhood of WWE and his, because he's so
yeah,
his. I guess I'm still in my childhood too. Like I'm not even out of my years yet, but it just feels like so much has happened since I turned 16, and it just feels like, yeah, I guess COVID happened and everything else, so COVID felt like forever. But
yeah. The time that people just want to forget about.
yeah.
Oh man, some of that Thunderdome stuff was rough. Oh, all right. Now I got some random questions.
Okay.
Some might be wrestling related, some not. Some probably have nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. That's why they're random. So I give you a question, first answer that pops in your head. First one, craziest in match moment for you.
Probably with AJ. I did the regular Rana on the outside, and then I did a poison Rana on the inside at the end. And the one on the outside, I turned and I went, and a lot of match happened between both Ranas. My body was so tired, and I did not go to the side. I didn't hit my head. I was able to get my arms under me, but I definitely grazed my nose off the mat, and I had a pretty open wound on my nose. Everyone thought that I broke my nose, and I was like, no, it's fine. But yeah, that was probably the craziest thing. So I had never done Ranas before, but I trusted the guy that I was with very much, and I was just like, yeah, okay, go big or go home, I guess.
And I mean, hey, that poison Rana, that was one of the matches that I definitely remembered, because I see that and I'm like, oh damn! Like, if you wouldn't have told me that you hadn't really done Ranas before, you could have fooled me at least with that. At least with that poison one, because those are, regular Hurricane Ranas are one thing, but you got the poison ones are a whole different animal.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I mentioned long travels, but also, being on planes, or if you're traveling with somebody, sometimes you got to entertain yourself. What is a way that you have for travel entertainment?
So I am very fortunate that my mom and dad graciously drive me to all of my shows. They are very much involved. My mom is a photographer, so she'll take my pictures for me. My dad, if the show that I'm on needs a ref because they weren't able to get one or someone wasn't able to show up, he refs. So we're kind of like a full wrestling family. My brother wants to be a wrestler, but when we're in the car, I'm usually probably either messing with my brother about something, listening to music, or sleeping.
Yeah, no, you definitely having somebody, and hell, I know even when I'm driving, my wife is messing with me about something.
Yeah,
And,
I'd say I probably sleep more on the way home if we're going there and back, because for some reason I can't sleep on the way there. I think it's just because I'm anxious about the match and stuff like that. But so that's usually when I'll put my earbuds in if I really feel the nerves going. But recently, with the way that my shows have been lining up, we haven't been coming home straight away unless it's a home promotion. Because like this coming weekend, I'm in Ohio on Friday, West Virginia on Saturday, and Buffalo on Sunday, and then I come home and go to school the next day. So I'll be in a hotel at least 2 nights in between matches, which is honestly nice because my body it doesn't have to worry about the long drive home, and it can just rest a second, and I can get a shower and get all the grossness off of me, and I feel a lot better. But yeah, even on the way home, so once the weekend's over, my body is very tired and I have to recover a lot.
Yeah, some people, I know, I just ran into it this weekend with my own family. A lot of people don't really get a lot of wrestling might be predetermined, but some of the damage that you guys take in that ring, I've helped set up many a ring before. And some people, for some reason, still think those things are like trampolines. Nope, they're not.
I wish.
I've taken a few bumps in there, and I'll admit I went through a pro wrestling boot camp one time, and I was walking funny for about a week.
Yep.
So that right there, as if I didn't have a lot of respect for those like yourself, for putting your bodies through all that all the time. When I even had a taste of it, I'm like, yep, nope, I even more so now.
Yeah.
All right, now keeping your body in ring shape and everything, and with school and all that, they can take up a lot of time. But
Yes.
what you have a hobby outside of wrestling?
Um. I'm trying to. What do I do the most? I like fishing, which kind of surprises a lot of people. We have a creek that's like basically in our backyard, and there's a little dock area. So, like, sometimes I'll go down there and I'll just either sit or I'll take my fishing stuff down and just relax. So, that's a big part of my life. I fish with my pap a lot. Um, I make bracelets occasionally. During COVID, I bought a bunch of stuff. That usually helps me more so whenever I'm feeling anxious about something or very
Mm,
panicky. Um, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts recently. Like, I just started McFoley's whole thing. Um, and now that it's done, I can start at the beginning and just go the whole way through. Um, Obviously, tape studying. I watch
yeah.
a lot of wrestling. Um, so that takes up a lot of my time. I have like two games that aren't wrestling related that I play. It's Township and Subway Surfers. I love those two games. And then WWE's Super Card game. Um,
I
like going
used to play the supercard game, but I kind of, with stuff with needing for recording and you know space on different devices, I kind of
it takes
had
up a
to.
lot. So I was the first one in my house to download it, and I told my family about it, and they all downloaded it, and I ran into that problem. So I had my matches on my phone, so there was like a lot of my storage. Plus, I take pictures of like everything. I don't know why. If I see something that I think looks cool, funny, or just whatever, I take a picture of it. Um, and so I was able to clear space off my phone and I downloaded it back, but now everybody in my house is past me in the game and they're all getting way better cards than me and they all make fun of me. And I'm like, you know what? Screw you guys, because without me, you probably wouldn't be playing the damn game. You're welcome.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, now I know I always say with I've had people on that for one reason or another don't drink, and I know not being of age, I am not going to act like I even condone underage drinking. So I'm revising this question. Favorite drink, obviously non-alcoholic.
Hmm. I like a good Dr. Pepper.
Ah, hey, most of the time when I'm recording these, I'm
Dr.
having
Pepper
one.
is so good. And like I was fully a Pepsi girl. And then I forget where we were. I want to say we were at like a Dollar General or something. And I think my mom got a Dr. Pepper, and I was like, "Can I try that?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was like, "Okay." And I drank it, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like, where has this been all of my life?" Um, but with wrestling, I can't. I don't drink soda a whole lot. I basically drink water all the time, but yeah, whenever, usually after a match, I'll get a Dr. Pepper.
Hey, that one of those things where I know during a match, working up a thirst. I can understand a ice
Yeah,
cold Dr. Pepper probably hits the spot right there.
for sure.
All right. Now, last but not least for this category, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Um, I feel like number one is when, and this is really the most important, I feel above anything else, is when you're looking at your training school, um, research the trainers of that training school, because the school itself might have like big names that have come out of the school, but are those the same trainers that trained
Yeah.
those wrestlers? Because a lot of the times they'll be like, oh, we train this person, this person, this person, but the trainers that train them aren't even there anymore. So you can't really expect the same product if you don't have the same production
True.
team working together. Um, even if the school has come out with all of these big names, and they're not the same trainers, that doesn't mean that the school is bad. That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
research the trainers, see where they've been, see what they've done with their career, and if you don't think that they've done enough, don't pay them the $1,500 to $2,000 that it usually costs to wrestle or to train at their school, because a lot goes into wrestling money wise, especially, and you don't want to be scammed out of your money.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's definitely those that you got to be careful with. So yeah, definitely you want to do your research, all the way around, so you know that you don't got to worry about that.
Yeah. Because anybody can open a training school anymore. Anybody can start a promotion, so you have to be really careful.
No, that you do. All right. Well, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on the unstoppable spark, they can go ahead and get them there.
You can find me on Instagram at official Ava Brooks. There's a link tree I know in that bio that has all of the socials. You can find me on Facebook as Ava Brooks. It's just a like page. So if you find it and it's anything else other than that, it's not me. Report it. And if you can't for some reason find me on either of those, if you go into Google and you put Ava Brooks professional wrestler, all of my stuff should come up, whether it's other
Well,
podcasts I've done or matches that have been posted. Because I went on YouTube the other day and I have a good bit of stuff on there now.
yeah,
So,
I found a lot of it when I was just putting my notes together.
so there's that, and you can follow me on YouTube if you want, because I'm gonna start doing vlogs whenever I have these busy weekends. And yeah, it's gonna be a great time. So
Definitely. We'll definitely get all of that in the description. Well, that is about all I have. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Best of luck out there defending and retaining your AIWF Women's Championship.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. My issue with this freaking button. God damn button.